Morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Hope you had a great night's sleep. I did not, but um, it wasn't the worst night's sleep I've ever had either. So 6 of 1, I guess. It wasn't great, but I think I'm still probably resting somewhat from the unbelievable thrashing I took at the hands of that benzo the other day. So I did have a bit of a dream last night, but here I am. We're rolling. There's Russ. Hey Russ, good to see you, man. I'm hoping that it's you and I tonight at 5. So if you're feeling up for it, Russ, it's gonna be a you and me night tonight, Russ. So I'm hoping that works out. So first time listener, Elizabeth, welcome to the lifeboat. We're glad that you're here. Truthfully, we are. Everybody, Elizabeth is new to the lifeboat. It's always nice when we see somebody new here. Russ will be there. Excellent. Thank you, my friend. So today, sorry. Got my microphone. I am really sort of out of discombobulated today. Oh, hell no, Kelly. Or would that be, oh, hell no, Kelly? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Welcome aboard. Oh, hell no. Kelly. So today we're going to be talking about ambition. And you know what? Ambition is a funny thing because it can be absolutely a waste of time, right? And it can still be ambition. The things that you decide to drive yourself to do sometimes are not always the greatest decisions in the world. Ambition is more important than just putting your head down and going. I remember, so I've talked about this before, but they make those little triangular paper holders. They're not a paper clip per se. They're like a black triangle that has little metal handles on it that you can squeeze and it gets open and you can. They're great for legal documents. They will hold a whole hell of a lot of paper. And if you break one in half, the metal that they use, the black metal, can cut any other metal in half. It takes a long time. It takes a really, really long time. But they call those cutters in prison. And I remember taking over a cell. So every 21 days you have to move. And I moved into a cell. And when I did, a guy got into the little vent. Those little holes that vent from one cell to the next. And he got down in there and he said, Tommy, I said, what are you doing? And he goes, hey, I need you to look under the mattress. I said, I saw it when I moved in. I said, someone's been cutting on it. He said, I need you to finish it. This was in the outline of a knife. I wasn't particularly enthralled at the idea of cutting this thing out of this bunk. However, it was one of those situations that this guy was a ranking dirtbag. So he had importance in the facility among the other bad men. And so that basically meant that as a white boy in good standing, I needed to finish cutting out this blade. And I remember looking down at it, and it was done for all intents and purposes. Like the outline, if you picture a knife, that it was this long. It had the handle cut out and the little tang thing, that would protect your hand from a knife sliding down or whatever. All of that was already done. I just had to keep following it around, right? How hard can this be? I mean, there were places you could already start to see that the metal had already cut all the way through. Like you could start to see light, barely little. It took hundreds of hours to finish this thing. But I remember as I was scraping this, thinking to myself that if you had enough time, right? If time was a non-issue and you had the motivation that you could pretty much cut anything in half, the key becomes that motivation, right? And it's amazing the stupid things that you will see people do in prison that are absolutely remarkable in scope when it comes to the amount of time. You look at something and you go, good Lord, how long did that take you to do? There are guys who thrive on that in there. people who really take time. You probably have seen Shawshank Redemption, and there's a scene where he's making a chess set out of stones. I watched a guy do that. I watched a guy carve a chess set out of rocks, and you got to do it without any tools, right? Now, occasionally he might be able to get sandpaper or something else, but these are the kind of things that people will spend ridiculous amounts of time. Used to make our own toilet seats. That's actually a very popular thing in there, is making your own toilet seats. I've made many, actually. They take those away as well. It is a great movie, an unbelievably great film. And a hard one to watch, honestly. I love Shawshank, but the more times I see it, the older I get too. It's super difficult to watch. It's so well made. Any really good, well made prison film is hard to watch. But that one, everything about that one is just very, very real. The level of violence, everything. But I knew a guy that used to make rings, and he would walk around the yard with his head looking down at all times, on the lookout for that rock that was roughly, the size of a 25-cent piece, right? So that he could take that, drill a hole through it, and make a ring out of it. And I remember he was wearing one that was just amazing. And I said, how long did that take to make? And he said, a little over a year. Now, I don't know, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, a little over a year. No big deal. Because that is what that individual was ready to do. That was what that individual was ready to put his ambition into. I decided that I didn't like myself at 288 pounds. In fact, what I decided was that I didn't like much about who I was. And my ambition became to turn myself into something other than that which I was. The person that walked into prison could not be the same cat that walked out of prison. And that became the rock that, that I was shaping all the time. And it worked for me. I think the reason that I'm still sober today was because when I started to do it, I took a more holistic approach to sobriety than I had ever taken to anything, right? I changed how I ate. I changed how I slept. I changed how I worked out. I changed how I talked to people. Every single thing I did was designed to make sure that I never did dope again. And I became myopic. I'm sure that if you looked at me from a distance, you probably thought, this dude has taken up more hobbies or has decided to try to change more about his life. The truth is, it was all one. There was one goal, and it was very cut and dry. But in order to achieve that goal, I knew I couldn't keep doing the things that I was doing. Hello, Gregory. Good to see you. I couldn't keep doing the things that I was doing, so I had to dramatically change who I was. This required putting together a whole new game plan. Now, this is new for many, many. I programmed. Thank you, Russ. That's exactly what I did. And we talk about this here on the Lifeboat, and we call it different things. But Russ being a convict, that's just what I would have said to him, right? If he had gotten there, I'd say, man, I got a program going. Brother, fall in line, right? And honestly, I started working someone else's program, right? Q was the one that really laid this out for me. But I'm glad that there's a convict here, because really, in all honesty, is what we're talking about. As a convict, that's exactly what it is. What drives you to do that program? What makes you get up every day and do that? And as convicts, we tape pictures to the wall, right? We make sure that our motivation is always staring at us, is always looking back at us. And it doesn't, there are guys that whose wives walked away from them, right? And they will put up a picture of an ideal woman, someone that they think they're going to fall in love with when they get out. I used to joke about this when I was incarcerated. You know what I mean? You're in there and you're working out and you're thinking to yourself, somewhere out there is a girl that has no idea that eventually I'm going to end up meeting the poor girl. And these are jokes that you hear people talk about all the time. The former or the future Mrs. Scoville is out there. And you try to build yourself into something that you think the next person might actually want to be near. It may sound crazy, but when you spend your entire life in the wrong direction, these are thoughts that actually occur to you. I remember thinking to myself, you're not really a catch. Aside from the bank robbery and and the guns and all of that, the stuff that landed me in prison, I I wasn't a great catch. I lied around the clock. That was my go-to characteristic was lying. Would it be doing a program or just reprogramming yourself? Well, Kelly, in prison, the term programming, um, what it means to another convict is that so when you get up in the day in prison, it's not like you see in the movies. I shouldn't say that. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's not. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and the cell's doors open. And they're only going to lock a couple of times during the day so that they can count you. This is a process that takes maybe 30 minutes. So for the rest of the time, there is a level of freedom that you have. You can go outside to the yard. They have weight piles on some prisons, but if not, they have exercise yards. They have all of these different things that are set up, a law library, places that you can go and study and do things. Programming is what do you do during the day to fill the hours that you have to do, because what we owe them is time, right? So we're going to give them 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, whatever. You're going to give them that time. The question becomes, how do you program during that time? And in the beginning, the concept of programming is just to kill time. It's just something so that you're not sitting around all day long thinking that on the other side of that fence is steak and women and cars and clothing and nice things that I will never see. That can drive a person insane. And it can drive a person insane in about a week. So you have to very quickly start to come up with a way to take your mind off of everything, right? That will drive you nuts. And for some guys, they dive into books. I did a lot of this, right? I really spent a lot of time reading, but that was only a part of what I did in my programming, right? And it was about 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day that I spent reading. But it was usually going to be right around the time where they were locking me down anyway. So during the rest of that time, we did a lot of push-ups, right? We did a lot of working out. We did a lot of things that every convict does because it's standard operating procedure. Working out's a big one. Almost every single inmate does it. You run into a couple of guys that just don't do it. But for the most part, everybody is doing some level of workout, right? So that was one part of the day. And I talk about this now for people who are getting sober on the street. If you do not have your day scheduled, then your addiction is going to schedule it for you. I promise. If me, for instance, especially in the beginning, if I didn't have from 9 to 11 scheduled every single day, then from 9 to 11, I was going to go find dope, because that's what my brain did for 3 decades. Burpees. Yeah. I will not do a burpee. I was trying to demonstrate to somebody what a burpee was the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'll walk you through this. I'm never doing another burpee as long as I live. So Russ will be able to appreciate this. One of the disciplines. So if you get in trouble in prison and you do something wrong and the fellas are not happy with you. Now, if you do something really wrong or even remotely wrong, you're going to get beat up, right? That's usually how it happens. Sorry, it was a candy corn reference. So the burpee thing is it's something that is often delved out as discipline. So if you do something wrong and they're not going to beat you up, they may say to you, I want you to do X number of burpees. The number among racist people in prison, the number 1,488, has massive significance. The 14, you see this written on people 1488 or 1488 or whatever. The 88 is the 8th level of the alphabet, which would be H, repeated twice, right? So 88 would be HH, no lie, as in Heil Hitler, classy, right? And the 14 is the 14 racist words that all white people are supposed to memorize when they get to prison. But I got in trouble with the fellows on multiple occasions where they said, you need to do 1,488 burpees. And people, I cannot begin to tell you just how long it takes to do 1,488 burpees, and the fact that when you're done, um, yeah, you can't just standing up. You know what I mean? Becomes almost impossible. Your stomach is just tied in knots. The idea of a burpee is you're going to go from basically standing up to dropping down to doing a push up, and then jumping back up. And the whole process is it's like a three-piece down, 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 and it's awful. Yeah, you know what? I will maybe do one burpee. Um, you know what, Jess? Thank you so much. I'm still struggling with the rest thing. This too shall pass. It has happened before in my life. It always happens when during times of change, and there are a lot of changes that are still going on. Uh, Still a lot of changes that are going on in my life, and that is so. This is not. I mean, it's not unprecedented. This is just a really long run, and I'm hoping that it's going to be over soon, and that this is going to go back down. I'm working with professionals more now than I've ever done, so I'm hoping we get this put in the rear view. I used to bet new fish a soup if they could do 15 burpees. You know what's really funny is the very first time that I ever did burpees in any way. It kind of goes with the ambition thing, actually. I was horrendously out of shape, and I was big. Like I wasn't a small dude. Um, I was 6'2", 250 pounds. Right, I was a big dude, and I was in a state prison. I was with a guy named Turtle, and really a good dude, tattoo artist, and a nice guy. But we went out. We were in the fish tank together, right? Brand new inmates, and he had done a bunch of time, and I had not done any. And while we were in the cell, he said you should start working out, get some push-ups in and some burpees. I didn't know what a burpee was, right? And I didn't want to say, hey, I don't know what a burpee is, so I did some push-ups with the guy or whatever, and he was like, man, let's bust out 50 burpees. And I was like, yeah, I'm good, right? I figured maybe if he started or whatever, I was like, nah. If you want to do something, he's like, no, I'm not doing them alone. To make a long story short, when we got out of the fish tank, we went out to the weight pile, and they put one wheel on a push-up bar, which I believe Russ would probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 135 pounds. It's not much weight, 125 pounds, something like that. Well, two wheels is 225. I can't remember what it is, 135, something like that. But I couldn't hit it. I could not. I had been in withdrawal for a month and a half, and I went out and took that thing off the rack, and it just like the movies, it went, yeah, and just landed on my chest. And I could not get that bar. Literally, could not move it off my chest. And I remember Turtle looking at me and going, "Dude, you're way too big to not be able to hit that." He's like, That's really awful, man. We need to get you back to the cell, and tonight we'll do some burpees." That was the beginning of the end. I ended up catching three wheels eventually, which is. I think 315 or something, whatever. But it was the three-wheeled club, and you get your name on a wall and all of this stuff, which was a big deal at the time. But I remember that becoming my ambition. And it was more than just being in shape. It really was we had a 300 card, not in the feds, but in the state. And I wanted to hit 300 so bad, I can't tell you. Like, it became a thing. And the number of burpees I did and the amount of time that I spent. Kelly, you're late because you forgot to put the clock back by an hour. Well, you're really not that late, though. That's, hold on. I'll check my brother's watch since I'm not wearing one this morning. Yeah, you're not that late. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. So, the ambition thing. How do you get it rolling? This is a bitch for a lot of people, man. This is one of the things that takes addicts and freezes them in place as much as anything else. Russ hit 405. Well, that's a stone cold beast right there. I will not lie to you. I hit three wheels, and then the Spirit Busters, the little 2.5 pounders on both sides, had me domino. It's like poof, nothing. I mean, nothing. But I did get a match. on the three wheels, which was a big deal. I was pretty happy about that, and I made the wall and got my card. And you know what they were at the time? It was a really big deal. That was a cool yard that way. But it was a big thing among the fellas to be able to catch the three. I can hear horns blowing. Is today finally the day of the impending egg apocalypse? Jeremy Shelton, you lousy, no good so and so. Why, yes, today will be the day of the egg apocalypse. Yeah. I'm not particularly happy about the egg apocalypse, but I am going to be doing it. And my goal is to enjoy this. I'm going to try to actually enjoy the taste of these eggs. See, I'm doing this and really kind of preparing myself. It's a burpee that's worse. If you're asking what a Superman is, there are burpees, and then there are Navy SEAL burpees. There are Superman burpees. There are all of these different things that you can do to make a burpee a little worse. You know what I mean? Like, you understand the concept of you're going down, you're doing a push-up, and then you're getting back into a position where you can jump back up. So you got to pull your legs back up into a position so you're almost looking like you're doing a squat, but you have to hop from there to there. So when you're doing that push-up, you could be kicking one leg out to the side on each push-up, right? And if you're doing threes, you got to do 3 push-ups before you jump back up, and you do something stupid on all 3 of the push-ups, and that makes it just worse. Eggs again, yes, V. This egg is going to be slightly different in as it has been cooked. The last time I ate this foulness, I just pulled the shell off of some apparently raw egg that has been sitting in mud, clay, dirt, and whatnot for a fortnight. This time, we took that same disgusting egg and we cooked it. So we're going to make an egg salad sandwich out of a century egg. Should be called a millennium egg. Really, really foul. Yeah, you got to do each exercise. You start over. So I left prison and I got out, and I started working at a shipyard, and it was very much like prison again. In a lot of ways, it was very, very much like prison. There was something that I had to do, right? I had a group of people that I basically looked at as prison guards, which is probably not very fair, but that's what the bosses were to me at that shipyard, right? I had just left prison. There was a different set of crew that I called boss, but these guys had the same power, right? They make a phone call and say, this Tommy Scoville guy isn't working out real well, and I'm on my way back to prison. So there was a real shift in the mindset when I got out and tried to hold on one second. Yesterday at work, I was asked to train the new woman, and I was surprised, but everyone started listening to me, and it went great. Ambition is a great thing to think about today. Valerie, you should not be surprised that everyone was listening to you. I think that is a beautiful thing. And, there's not much that is better for the human being than that moment where we realize that the things that we're saying are being appreciated by those around us. That's a huge thing for us as humans. It's validation, and it's all kinds of important stuff. And you know what, Valerie? You need more of it. You should realize. Shouldn't be a shocker. There's a reason they asked you for that, right? And it probably wasn't just because you were the only person around. What's the benefit of a century egg? Oh, Martha, you must be new. The benefit is it makes me vomit. Sad but true. People really like the sound of Tommy Scoville making a horrific dry heaving sound. They don't actually want to see me blow chunks. I take that back. They might actually want to see it, but they certainly want to hear it. And that's kind of a big thing. There is no reason whatsoever. I think Mischief sums it up. It says, I can't think of one, Martha. That's because there's not one. This is really just for the entertainment of people that like to watch me suffer. And you'd be really surprised just how many people like to watch me suffer. It's a go-to, right? Have you ever heard the term? People will say sometimes, like, the person got beat like a rented mule. It's a terrible expression, right? Or the person got beat like a circus monkey. Terrible, terrible expressions. But Johnny and I had a friend once that said if we ever wrote a book, the book should be called The Circus Monkey and the Rented Mule, since we have sadly beat ourselves pretty badly over the course of our life. Yep, our phones have changed the time automatically, so the lifeboat is live at noon and midnight here in the UK. You know what, Kelly? I'm so glad you said that. See, now I can drop that, and I actually know that I'm live on the 12s across the pond. Snotface, it is always good to see you, regardless of what time of day, but it's always nice to see you in the morning. Glad that you're here. Dennis M., good to see you. How do we get up every morning once you're out? Rent a meal. You know what? Karen and I could use whatever at this point, right? It's going to be a pretty rugged meal. Yeah, yakety yak will definitely be on the menu, sadly. So I got out of prison and I started this job, and I'm working at the shipyard, and the money was good, life's good. The hardest thing in the world for me was to continue to do the things that came so damn easy a month earlier. All of a sudden, I had these responsibilities that I didn't have for the previous decade, right? For 10 years of my life, they gave me an option of what I could do, right? And I was very limited in what I could do. You don't have a lot of choices in prison, but I could sit and continue to do the same things that I had done that had landed me in prison, or I could try to change. And changing meant working out, it meant reading, it meant studying, it meant so many different things. And then uh, all of a sudden, I'm on the street. And all of those things that I was able to take all day working on, now I had to try to figure out a time in the day. But see, these things weren't like, brushing your teeth, making the bed. These were really essential things that had become such a large part of my sobriety that it really, I figured out really quickly at that halfway house that if I didn't come up with a new routine and a new program and quickly, that it was all over but the crying. That I was going to be back in prison, and I was going to be back in prison quickly. And I mean, I remember this. I'm not exaggerating or making this bigger than it is. I honestly remember it was first time I had a smartphone, right, in a decade. So, I hope you knock them dead, Kathy. I would love to hear you perform in church. See, why aren't you at my church? That would be lovely. Kathy is an amazing, amazing musician. Truthfully. Kelly, this is your lucky day. Since becoming disabled, I have no purpose. 10 years of oxy kept me down and out. 1 year sober and still see no purpose. I'm struggling. Kelly, thank you for your honesty. I get this, right? I absolutely get this. I was this is almost where I'm going with this, in all honesty. We'll have to mess with it a little bit, Kelly, but this will make a lot of sense. So I get out and I've got this job and I've got all of this stuff and I've got this thing, right? Like, this puppy was just ridiculous, right? I can do anything with this. And one of the things that I could do was see my daughter, right? See her, right? Not send an email or see her in real time. And I could also see my dad, right? And all of this freedom at once took everything that I had been doing, all of the programming and all of the things that had kept me sober. I stopped instantly because I had so much more important things to do. And I'm not being a wise ass. These were more important things to do. For real. I mean, doing burpees or looking at the girl that I thought was going to never be a part of my life, my baby girl. And Admittedly, it was 5 kinds of unhealthy. Like I was spending 5 or 6 hours a day talking to my kid, which is lovely. It's also really not healthy for my kid or for me, right? It's just not, you can't, these are things that you can't sustain. And all of a sudden, I had to try to find this whole new plan that was going to keep me sober because the one that I had was gone. And this was, I mean, paradigm shift, life changing stuff. I remember sitting in a chair in a shower. I had brought a plastic chair into the shower, and I was sitting in it, just having the water pound on me, and thinking to myself, "I'm going to go back to prison." Like there wasn't a doubt in my mind, because all of the things that I understood were done. And now I had to do all of this crap. Like I had to go to work, right? Sandblasting, not something that a guy of my age with problems that I have in health should have been doing. My hands were this big. I had so many problems. But the biggest problem was I had no idea what I was going to do. None. You see, in prison, I had a very small little world, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant one, but I understood it. And I knew what I had to do in that stupid little world to stay sober. And so my programming at the time, what I was doing in order to stay sober, what was I doing? Well, I was working out for a few hours a day. That was huge. But I did this group, right? I had this group of guys that got over 100 people, and we would all get together and we would sit down and we would talk about sobriety. And it was me. I was getting up and doing the same show that kind of like I do here, except it was since we were right there and it was in real time. Guys would stop and ask me a question. It was a great program, but it was gone. And now instead of doing that for an hour a day, which really was way more than an hour a day, because afterwards these guys would come up to me on the yard and be like, "Hey, Tommy, can I talk to you real quick?" It ended up chunking up a lot of my day trying to help people stay sober. If I didn't start doing that out here real freaking quick, I would be back in there. It's almost impossible finding your purpose in life, especially if you're finding it for the first time ever, and you're finding it for the first time ever sober. Right? Now, I'm going to have to talk to you about God, and you're going to have to deal with it. We'll watch the numbers drop. It always does when I mention God. But there's no getting around this one. I can't answer this, and I can't be a part of this without telling you that. I'm not kidding. For me, this was a very massive part of what I became was, the prayer was yes. Right? That was the prayer. Yes, God, I'm down for it. Whatever the question happens to be. And I'll just keep it real. That's how I ended up sitting right here in front of this microphone. But that's how I found purpose. I was ready to do whatever I had to do so that the first 46 years of my life weren't pissed away. Because that was my option. I could go and do anything, right? I could hit the Powerball tomorrow and win $400 million. It still means that the first 46 years of my life meant nothing except destruction. I helped people overdose and die. I helped people get addicted to drugs that killed them. I helped nothing good happen. Right? I mean, I did a couple of nice things along the way by accident, but for the most part, everything that I did in my life in the first 46 years was designed to keep me high at any cost. Any cost. So my challenge became coming to grips with the concept that 46 years on this earth were wasted no matter what I do. How do you come back from that? Right? I'm 53. So at 46, you go, yep, that's a wrap. Maybe I get really, really lucky, right? And I live 50 years, right? That would put me at 96? That would be the only way I'm ever going to catch up. So that's not going to happen. So I better take all of that time that I spent getting wasted and make it worth something. For me, that was really important. If I couldn't take those 46 years and make them mean something, I was going to go insane. Never really on someone for your sobriety. The secret is finding something that matters. Never really on someone. You certainly have to get sober for you. Now, I didn't get sober for me. You have to, and I know that you do. And I stay sober for me, but I got sober for my daughter. I got sober for my son. I got sober for my dad. Those were really the big three. Johnny was in there. My sister was in there. But the big three, those were people that was so overwhelming to me, that the thought that I'm going to let these people down again. I knew I was a piece of crap. I had, over a very long period of time, proven to myself that I really wasn't worth much of anything. However, I knew my kid was great. She was the best. And I knew my dad stood by me through times when he shouldn't have. And I knew all of the people that meant something to me were important enough to not get high that first day. And that lasted, for a while. And these days, I'm not sober for my daughter. I'm happy as hell that I'm sober and that it's good for her. But these days, I'm sober for me. But that took a long time and a lot of effort and a lot of unpeeling the onion. But yes, Jess, you do matter. You do matter. Everybody here matters. This is a difficult thing for us to wrap our brains around in the beginning, right? It really is. It's hard. It's hard when we have used a chemical to get through the day for a long enough period of time. When you remove that chemical, getting through the day is really difficult. And the worst part is that, we get this feeling when we get sober that, now really I have nothing in my life. I have no real ambition. I have no purpose. I got news for you, right? You didn't have any purpose before either. You just didn't give a crap that you didn't have any purpose before, right? The fact that you're feeling that missing in your life, the fact that you're sitting here and thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't feel like I have any purpose, or I don't feel like I have any mission. The fact that you feel like that means that you're healing. You realize that, right? You're right. The fact that you realize that there should be a purpose in your life and it's not there means that you're already making huge steps. I went 46 years without a purpose in my life, and I didn't give a crap. Never bothered me once. That's the truth. If I was, the only time that ever weighed on my mind, even slightly, was because I was dope sick. When I was in the life and I was doing dope every day, that's what the dope did. The dope made sure that I didn't care that I didn't have a mission in life. That was the dope's job. What do? I make sure Tommy is not bummed out by the fact that he's got nothing going on in his life. That's my job. And it did an incredible job. Russ, it's the truth. Russ says it's hard. Super hard to find someone that will accept you for you these days. This is the truth. This is the truth. Now, everybody's you is really different, right? We all, when you're being accepted for who you are. I mean, all of us here suffer with addiction, right? And I suffered with, the pathology of being just an absolute liar. And then on top of that, I have this whole criminal thing, right? Which is a very difficult thing for a lot of people to get over. I got an interesting message from somebody that said they had been interviewed at the protest for Scientology, and the question that this person was asked was, of all the things that they could ask, by the way, at a protest for Lafayette Ronald Hubbard and his cult, the question was, were you aware of the fact that you're hanging out with an ex-convict? That was what this person from a pretty famous newspaper came up with for their question of a person at the rally, and it's the the nature of what we do in our lives is that you're not going to run from the mistakes that you've made as an addict. Now, mine are a little bit more glaring than the next one. Russ's a little bit more glaring than the next one. But regardless of what those are, ours might be a little bit more extreme, right? But it doesn't matter a lick. Either way, we're going to be stuck with them. So our life becomes, how do we move forward? How do we find our mission? And how do we get the motivation to actually do it? Mischief. Well, this is just it in a nutshell, isn't it? If you think about it, if we want to drink and use, it's because we want to change the way we feel. The hard thing is to find ways to make that happen without drinking/using. I will go one step further, right? And we'll just change it up a little bit and say that if you think about it, we all use because we want to feel different, right? We want to change the way we feel because we are uncomfortable in our own skin. Can we all agree to that? Because that really is what it is, right? You can do this, Kathy. Now, this seems like a scary concept if you're having something respiratory going on. For those of you who don't know, she plays the clarinet. She makes the clarinet sing. To say that she plays the clarinet seems like I'm not doing it a hell of a lot of justice, but she really can play the clarinet. And that's got to be a very difficult thing to do with respiratory stuff. So, you know what? Thoughts and prayers going out to you, Kath. Yes, well, he most certainly was. And his his wife did a little time. You know what? Here's the deal. It doesn't the irony of all of that is hysterical, but it's just kind of an indicator of what Russ was talking about. See, the only reason that I brought it up, and because I got that email this morning. Somebody actually asked me if I wanted to talk about what they had said about me, but I mean, I could talk about what they say about me. Yeah, it's same voodoo, different day, right? What they're hoping is that saying that is going to bum me out. I got news for you. I went to prison. I did the things that I did that put me in prison, and I came to grips with that so long ago, right? When people say, you know, it's great that you can talk about it. Russ can attest to this. You get to a point where you have to accept responsibility for everything that you've done, and you have to really do that. Obviously, you have to do it at elocution where you stand in front of a judge and do it. But if you're going to end up one of two people. Those guys that walk around that act like they really didn't do anything to end up there, right? The people that say, I'm here because my wife ratted on me, or I'm here because my business partner was a rat. Not the people who say, well, I'm here because I robbed banks. I'm here because I was selling drugs. Owning it and sort of taking responsibility for it really becomes a big thing. Joe, the Jester of Death, 83. Good morning. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Yeah, we're not big on judgment around here. Cheryl, I think you will find that we really are a group of people that don't spend a whole lot of time judging. You know what, Cheryl? Here's the deal on the using weed to treat your depression. I'm not the dude. I'm sorry to hear that, Demon. I'm not the dude who comes here and says you really shouldn't be doing this, or this. It's not why I'm here. I'm not anti-drug, believe it or not. I know that's probably something that the people have a hard time wrapping their dome around. I'm not anti-drug. I don't have the ability to do it myself because I am a drug addict. But I don't have any problem with people who are using weed for any reason. I really don't. As long as weed is not, you know what addiction is, right? We know what it is. If the addiction to the substance is making you miserable, then that's awful. But if it's not, you're just, you're smoking a little weed. God bless you. Hope it works out great. I hear people all the time Happy to catch you live after 2 weeks. I've been through time for a little love from the lifeboat. Well, Maggie May, it's good to see you, hon, and you are in the right place. Kathy says, I'm using weed for anxiety as well. I know a lot of people are using weed for anxiety and for a whole host of other things. Cheryl, you're not getting a pass on the cigarettes. Those have got to stop. Those have got to stop. Here's the deal. If you're stuck with nicotine, right, and you're really struggling, and I understand that because nicotine is a bitch of a drug. The speed at which nicotine can double the dopamine level in the body, dopamine times 2. It's as fast a delivery method to bring you up that high, and it's the reason that that nicotine is so tough. But if that's what you're stuck with, and you're going to be struggling to get through that, that's okay. Let's go with that. How about maybe using a vape device instead of using something that you're going to set on fire? Because the setting on fire thing is bad. Mind games. I love the way you put that the lifeboat is a safe haven in our tumultuous life. I really, really dig that. Joe the Jester says, I'm using medical marijuana for PTSD. You know, I've had people recommend this for me. I just don't think I could do it and not do it really to the point of just being around the clock. If I thought I could do it just before going to sleep and that would help, I would do that. I just don't think I'd be able to keep it that way because that's who I am. And I don't want to start going down that road because it leads to bad places for me. But I have nothing against the substance at all. Christy Caldwell says, what's the point of judging people for what's in their past? Meet people where they are to help put the things they want to work on. Non-judgmental brings in love, gratitude, and happiness. What's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It really is. Hey, Nick. I don't know that I've ever said hello, Nick, but if I have not, welcome to the lifeboat. I'm glad that you're here. So my struggle has never been, truthfully, I've never really, good to see you, Steve. Hope you're feeling better. My struggle has always been, it's never been with ambition. It's been with stick-to-itiveness. I am great at ideas. I'm great at starting the process, but continuing to do something has been hard. Smoking since I was 16 and I'm 50, and it has been the hardest thing to stop ever. Kelly, I believe that. I believe that. I'm not sure where you are in that process, but I pray that you stick with it because it will be worth the payout. I promise you. And that says, I can't find a flavor for my value cig that doesn't taste so sweet. I'm not trying to recommend products. I don't know where you live either. In the state that I live in, there are places that mix flavors for you at the location. And you can actually say to the person, you know what, back off on the flavor a little bit. You can also buy flavors that are just tobacco that don't have any flavor to it. So instead of getting something that's, tastes like, wedding cake or whatever the hell they're trying to push, I was doing the ones that just were flavored like tobacco. Been following for a while, just a silent follower. Well, Nick, we're happy to have you here, silent or otherwise. That goes to all of you out there that are just listening. It's not just the nicotine. In the 90s, they added yet that makes it 10 times more addictive. I am not aware of that, Jess Gunn, but I will absolutely look into it because that's and if you have anything on that, please send it to me because I really do like to go down those rabbit holes. Jeff, you're 100% right. And you know what? This is a cautionary tale, people, and it's the truth. Jeff says, marijuana can be very psychologically dependent for some people and kill your motivation. Proceed with caution. I speak from experience. And I agree with him 100%. That has always been my complaint with weed for me, was that it stole my ambition. I was horrendous with it. Annette, send me a
Annette, send me a email at sober@myyahoo.com. Sober@myyahoo.com, because I can tell you we're in the same place. I can even tell you where you can go. I know just the person. I know just the person since you happen to be in this state. So that's, yeah, for me, weed was really an issue. I I really have a problem with it, and anything that steals ambition from me, because I really have a problem with that. You're down to 2.4%. Well done, Snotface. She says, I just use the views and get their menthol. It tastes a little minty, and I love that I have the nicotine down to 2.4%. That's awesome. And Jeremy Sheldon says, try Mackinac peaches. They are in season this time of year. Just don't get your apartment fumigated. If you've never tried the Mackinac, then you don't know what you're missing. My cat is chewing on her toenails. She chews on her back toe, and I was trying to lift her up so you could see her doing it. It's violent the way she chews on it. It's like she's trying to remove the claw permanently. It's not even fun to watch. She really gets vicious with it. It's harder to stop smoking than it was to stop drinking. Vapes make me cough, and patches, etc. don't cut it. Have you tried the little pouches? There are 3 or 4 different companies now that make patches that are just delivery systems for nicotine. So it's just a matter of giving you a huge blast of nicotine through a small pouch. You can buy them at different levels. You may want to look into that. It's not going to have the ritual. You're not going to get the, and all of that. And I understand ritual. I'm not picking on you or playing it down. I get ritual, and it's hard. But yeah, I know it's hard. But maybe check out those. I can't remember the name of the product now. Zin, Z-I-N. I think it is Zin or S-I. It's not Sin. Zin. Tony, have a good time at church. I will be going to church here shortly as well. And if all goes well, I'm actually meeting somebody at church, and I'll send some photos. Got a crew member that may be in church today. You love that I have cats. Do you think I could live without a cat? I cannot live without a cat. Maggie May, I love your name. It's my mother's favorite song. Oh, dirty Maggie May, they have taken her away. Join him, you know it? And she never walked down Ninth Street anymore. Oh, the judge, she guilty found her. That dirty, no good Robin Maggie May. Oh no, you have a Maine Coon cat. Nick, I am so jealous. I cannot even explain. No offense, squirrel. But I am a huge, huge fan of the Maine Coon cat. I have always thought they are one of the greatest of all animals on planet Earth. I used to have a Saab back in the day, and the place that I would take my Saab had a Maine Coon cat that was just lived at the shop, and he would be sleeping on top of by the cash register, and he was just a behemoth. He was such a big kitty, and he had such a great personality. The day is coming where I will own a Maine Coon cat. I would never want you to apologize for it, Candy. I would never want you to apologize for your use of medical marijuana. And as far as that goes, I don't want anybody to apologize for their use of recreational marijuana. It may sound crazy. I don't care about drug use. It just becomes a problem when it becomes a problem, right? Yeah, I like Zach. I really do. He says, "Good to see you on Zach's stream." I really enjoy watching him. Um, he's just one of those cats that there's no affectation to that man at all. He's not trying to impress you or be anything other than what he is, and that is such a rare thing on YouTube, you know? Steve, I'm sorry that you can't hear me, bud. I really am. Wow. You know what? Isn't this just the question? I can do a 6-hour show on this. Love my mom. So why does seeing her pop up on my phone make me want to hit my head against a wall? I'm guessing because you're a human, right? Sorry, Martha. These pouches look very much like a skull bandit. Back in the day, they used to take tobacco, right? Chewing tobacco, and put it into a pouch so that the tobacco wouldn't get all over the inside of your mouth, right? So it was just a convenient way. Now, they now make these things in the United States that look the exact same, right? And to the best of my knowledge, they are available everywhere. But if they're not, we'll figure something out. Honestly, it can't be that hard. But these have no tobacco in them. So it is just a little pouch, just like you would get a bandit, except inside of it is something that has the consistency of almost like sand, right? And you can buy it in 3 or 4 different flavors, right? They come in a winter green and a spearmint there's like all these different mint flavors of it, and they also have a lemon and whatever. And you buy it by the percentage of nicotine. It'll be X percent or 0.5 or 0.7. Those numbers are just for illustration, but they're just so you can buy it at different strengths and you can work your way down or work your way up. My Grace is a 17-pound Maine Coon. They are smart. I have read all kinds of places that they happen to be very, very intelligent cats. 17 pounds is a big kitty. I would need a much larger basket for my cat in the basket. Squirrel just fits perfect. So that's what these little pouches are. It's made by a company called Zin, Z-I-N, I believe. And they're little itty bitty pouches. And I will be more than happy to do a little bit more research. You send me an email and I'll send you everything that I can get for you on it. These kind of perspective things, I know they're not ever fun, but cinnamon is another flavor. That's right. Jeremy says, I used to bang my head against the wall when I saw my mom's number pop up. Now that she's been gone for a little over a year, I would give anything to see that number again. And you know what? It's one of those things that I remember seeing my dad's number pop up and going, oh, crap. And thinking back to that now hurts, that I did that. But I understand why. And here's why. Because as we get older, so do our parents. And all of a sudden, it's not just, you have your own life, your own responsibilities. You have all of those things. I'm always going to be, my mom's baby, whether I'm 50 or 70, but it creates a whole new set of headaches because I'm also a grown man with, grown man issues and grown man problems. And as we get older, the dynamic and the relationship between parent and child really changes, whether we want it to or not, right? We're really far more on the same footing, but we're never going to be on the same footing because there are parents. It's completely makes sense that that you see that and you go, oh crap, I don't feel like dealing with it. You know what I would do, honestly? Because I go through this and I go through it with a lot of people, and it's one of my worst. This is one of the things that I struggle with the most. And I catch myself doing it. My son called. I even told him this, so I don't feel bad saying it here. But my son called, and I looked down, and I said to myself, "Oh, shh." And the reason I said it was, I looked down, I saw his name, and I thought, "Oh, I can't believe I haven't called him." Like I told him I was going to call him, and I didn't get around to it. But if you just happened to be watching, you would have seen me see my son's name and start cursing. Like I didn't want to talk to him. I was really kind of struggling with guilt that I don't spend enough time talking. I don't understand why they will give you a free crack pipe, but flavored vape juice is banned where I live. Well, that just makes sense, Demon. Come on. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to burn their mouth on a short crack pipe. You know how easily they break, so they got to keep giving out free crack pipes. Now that strawberry flavored vape juice, though, that could kill somebody, if not worse. I mean, it doesn't kill you. It might make you have a head rush. And with breath that smells like, or that tastes like peach. Wow. Steve Molesky says, my dad caught me dipping when I was 12 years old, so he made me put a big wad of beech nut in my cheek, and I projectile vomited and never touched tobacco after that. I remember very distinctly coming home once, polluted drunk, and I had somebody drive me. I was being somewhat responsible. But the person that drove me was just supposed to sneak back down the road and be picked up by his friend. And when his friend didn't pick him up, he came and knocked on my door and explained to my father that he had been the stand-up cat that drove his drunk son home. But it's all cool. And he just kept saying to my dad, "It's all cool." And my father would say to him, "Listen to me. It's not cool. You don't tell me what's cool in my home." But the following day, I said that I just had the worst hangover. I was so sick. I had been vomiting for the majority of the night. And my dad knew that I was so sick that he didn't even bother yelling at me while I was doing it, like he was going to get to it the next day. So that morning he said, "What were you drinking?" And I said, "Tequila." And I just drank way too much of it. He said, "Well, apparently." And then my father explained to me the concept of the hair of the dog. My dad explained to me that what I was going through was alcohol withdrawal. That's what I was going through, and that my body was literally withdrawing from having booze in my system, and that a small amount of the same booze would take the edge off. It's not something that you wanted to do on a regular basis because it turns you into. He gave me the whole speech, and then he proceeded to pour a shot of Pepe Lopez tequila. And if you're not familiar with Pepe Lopez, it's a bottle where the cap looks like a sombrero. And I'm pretty sure that it's not even good for stripping wax off of things, much less putting it in a glass and trying to consume it. But the chief handed me a little more than a shot in a glass and suggested that I throw that back, that it would take the edge off. What it did was that projectile vomit you were talking about earlier. That I did that all over the kitchen where I lived in Vermont. I blew chunks into the sink and onto the floor. It didn't work out so well. To this day, the thought of Pepe Lopez can make me just immediately start. But that's as close as anybody ever came to the, I'm gonna catch you smoking, make you smoke a pack of them or whatever. He didn't force me to do anything, but he just said, you might want to try this. And then I think he knew it was just going to make me sicker. Honestly, he was pretty good with the life lesson thing. He had a way. Well, people, my mom had a sixth sense. She would always call when I was doing something wrong. Deeming, did it occur to you that you were just always doing something wrong? Because honestly, I've had this exact same thought. I've thought to myself before, you know what? They don't ever call unless I'm doing something wrong. Well, I was always doing something wrong. So, of course, if the phone was ringing, the chances are I was doing something wrong. But I'm on to you, Deeming. That's what was going on. Mom just happened to call often and you were always doing something wrong. Happy birthday, Lene. I did not realize that it was your birthday, and I am so glad that I ran long because I wouldn't have even known. Happy birthday, Lene. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lene. Happy birthday to you. If I'm not mistaken, it's your 29th, correct? Happy 29th birthday. And I will be seeing all of you. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to hopefully run into a lifeboat friend. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to pray that I'm able to enjoy that egg salad later today. I will be doing it here live on the lifeboat. Well, that's just all bad. I do remember this. I do remember the change. They added stuff that made them safer. If you dropped them on a couch or a blanket, it would allow the cigarette to go out if you weren't actively smoking it. I want to say it was ammonia, but I'm not sure. I don't know what it is either, Jess. I remember when it happened, though. And if you remember at the time, cigarettes didn't have those little stripes that went all the way down them. those little circular stripes. That was a new thing. And it was right around the same time. But yeah, you know what? If you can avoid it, these cigarettes, they're no damn good for anybody. No damn good for anybody. Kimberly Holly, glad to see you. Glad that you're here. All right, everybody. I'm going to do this again tonight at 5 o'clock because we do it on the 5s. Unless, of course, you're on the other side of the pond, in which case we do it at noon and midnight. But regardless, I will be back today. I'm going to eat an egg, and I'm going to enjoy it. Johnny is too. We're going to enjoy that egg. Yeah. In the meantime, do me a favor. Reach out and try to save somebody, huh? You know what this is? That is a cat in a basket. And a cute one, too. Such a good kitty. What do you say? All right, everybody. I will see you on the next one. I'll probably be eating an egg. All right? God bless. Bye-bye. What do you say?